Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I recreated the makeup I did on my wedding day. I wasn't exactly sure what kind of look I was going to go for the day of my wedding. I pretty much decided it the night before, and I absolutely love the way it turned out. In my opinion, it's pretty much just like a simple bridal makeup look. I've done this look a ton of times on other brides, and I always love how it turned out, so I decided to just go ahead and do it on myself with all of my favorite products that I like the best on my skin. Yeah, let's just jump right in and I'll show you guys how I did my makeup the day of my wedding. Hey guys, so I'm going to show you today how exactly I did my wedding makeup the day of my wedding. The first thing I did to start my makeup routine that morning, which this is a step I always do before I have an event or just anytime I want my face to look as flawless as possible. I use these tiny little face razors, and I get the peach fuzz and like the dead skin that's sitting on top of my face off. And you just go over it lightly. And I would definitely suggest practicing this before your wedding day, not just trying to jump into it on your wedding day. I do this probably once a month, and I really do think it makes a huge difference in how my skin looks underneath my foundation, or just like how my foundation applies in general. Thankfully, I was not breaking out this bad the day of my wedding. I had a few pimples from stress, but my skin has been going crazy right now because after the wedding I started eating like whatever I wanted because I've been good all year. So I've definitely indulged the past couple weeks, and I'm totally ready to get back into clean eating because I can't handle this and I can't handle feeling like crap. The one place I always razor is above my lip. I do that probably every few days, and for those of you who might be thinking, why would you do that? It probably grows in darker and thicker. On me, it doesn't. It just makes it really smooth right there and makes my makeup apply really great. So, on the day of, to prime, I always put on my makeup pretty much half an hour after I've washed my face, so I have my moisturizer on and I'm ready to go. The one thing I do always put on is an oil control primer. The day of, I used the Tarte Luminous Silk Primer, and I ran out. I had a small little tube of that, and my cousin Michaela let me use the primer she had because I was too cheap to go out and buy another one. I knew she had it and I knew she would let me use it. So that is an amazing primer. I highly suggest that if you have oily skin or if you have texture or just looking for a great primer. Even if you have dry skin, I think that you should get a sample of it and try it. It's super expensive, but it is amazing, and I do plan on repurchasing that eventually. So for today, I'm going to use something that is similar, in my opinion. This is from Urban Decay, and it's the Optical Illusion Complexion Primer. I just have a small little tube of that. Pretty similar, in my opinion, and one little pump goes a long way. So that's all I have on my finger. I'm going to apply that where I get most oily, which is in the center of my face. Really like push it into my pores. So then I jumped right into foundation. The foundation I used for my wedding day was the ESTÉE Lauder Double Wear Foundation. I did a review on this probably like half a year ago. I had gotten a sample of it from Sephora. Loved it so much that I did end up purchasing it. Unfortunately, this past year I didn't have a lot of free time to try out new foundations, and I'm trying to be better about spending money on makeup. I realize I have a lot and I don't need to keep buying foundations. I mean, I have like 20 foundations. I don't think I need to keep purchasing them. That's why I love how Sephora gives you samples to try it. Yeah, I did end up purchasing this because it is definitely the most long-lasting foundation I've personally ever worn. I do have oily to combination skin, but this lasted beautifully throughout the whole day, and I'm super impressed with it. I highly suggest getting a sample of this and trying it out if you are getting married or if you are just looking for a long-lasting foundation, because who doesn't love that? So to apply it the day of, my best friend got me the most beautiful makeup brushes. So this is the foundation brush I used. It is from IT Cosmetics. It's just a foundation brush. Actually, I lied. The first thing I did was go in with some concealer from Tarte. This is the Shape Tape concealer that I always use. And I just went ahead and covered up the blemishes I had. And this is something I've been doing for a while now. Because this concealer is so full coverage, it just helps when you go to apply foundation, because then I don't have to apply like a whole nother layer of foundation because of this redness. So I like to take this concealer and just lightly buff it out and conceal all of my blemishes. And like I said, that way I can use less foundation. Don't get me wrong though, the day of my wedding I used quite a bit of foundation because I really wanted full coverage, and I wanted it to last all day long. And I have quite a bit of redness, so today I probably won't apply as much as I did on my actual wedding day. But you guys get the point. So as you can see, that took out a lot of my redness. I haven't done a makeup video in so long. This is probably going to be the world's longest makeup video because I feel like I suck at describing what I'm doing and what to talk about. So I'm sorry if this is light years long. I know this isn't super sanitary, but I always put foundation on the back of my hand and then dot it over my face. One thing you cannot forget to do is to blend foundation down your neck. So I actually just put a few dots on my neck right away so that I do not forget. Especially for events, you want to make sure everything is blended all the way down your face. Now I'm just going to buff it all in. So I'm just going to take a little bit extra and go over the redness on my cheeks mostly. And for this, I pretty much am just pressing it into the skin. Really making sure it's covering all that redness. Wow, I am going to look so good when I go to the grocery store today. Oh god. Next, I went in with that same concealer from Tarte. For a few months, I tried going without this concealer in my life because it's a little pricey. And like I said, I'm just trying to be smarter about spending money on makeup. And I realized in that 3 months that nothing compares to this, for me, in my opinion. It's just the most full coverage and lasts the longest on my skin. And I actually can't live without it. For the concealer, I always use a sponge to blend it out. Oh, and the sponge I use is from EcoTools. I really love the shape of it for getting underneath my eye. To set everything down, I'm going to use the Coty Airspun Loose Face Powder. I've used this in videos before, and I get asked quite a bit what my favorite powder is, and it's without a doubt this one. I will say I do love Laura Mercier's loose setting powder also, but for the price, I just think this one just blows it out of the water because it is so cheap and works so well. So if you're looking for an affordable face powder, get this one and try it out. You have nothing to lose. It's literally $5. Every time I do wedding makeup, I always use it on brides and bridesmaids, and they always tell me that their makeup lasted so well, and I truly believe this is one of the reasons it does. I really make sure to set the center of my face well because that's where I get the most oily, and then for the rest of my face I kind of lightly cover that up. And honestly, on a normal day, I do not wear this much powder, but like I said, I needed this makeup to last all day long, and I really believe that powder will help the longevity of your foundation. Next, for some reason, I always do my eyebrows. I get asked a lot, actually, what my favorite pencil is for eyebrows, and mine is from NYX, and it's the Precision Brow Pencil. I like it because of the shape. It's flat, and I feel like just is really easy to make little fake strokes of hair. I'm going to do this part off camera. I think it's really boring, and if you want an eyebrow tutorial, I can totally do that. Just let me know down below. Eyebrows are on. I haven't put the gel on yet. For some reason, I like to do that at the very end. But next, I put on my bronzer, and I actually used 2 different bronzers the day of. I used one to contour and one to bronze with. Pretty much does the same thing, but I always like to use a matte bronzer to contour with. This one is from Milani, and it is the shade Sunlight 01. It's their Silky Matte Bronzing Powder, and honestly, I need a darker shade. I have to build this up like crazy. Like, I literally go like this and put it right on my face because it is so light. But I kind of like how light it is because I think it creates a natural shadow and really contours your face, which is what I'm trying to do. But I really would like to get the darker powder because I think they have a darker shade that isn't even dark. It's just a little bit darker than that, and I could probably contour my face a lot quicker with that powder. If I am being honest, this is not the bronzer I wanted to use my wedding day. I wanted to use the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. That is my all-time favorite bronzer, and I honestly contour and bronze with that bronzer, but mine is broken in pieces and I just never got around to buying a new one. So this is what I ended up using. And I love the bronzers I use, don't get me wrong, but that one is just my all-time favorite. And I'm kind of sad I didn't use it the day of, but I think this ended up looking really nice, so I'm not too upset about it. I'm obsessed with this brush for contouring. It is from e.l.f. It's one of like their nicer brushes. It's a little more expensive than their other ones. I can't remember what the name of these brushes were, but it's the number 103, and it is made for contouring. It has like a really nice shape for getting right in your jawline. So I really like it. It's really soft. A lot of times I just push it into my skin like this, creating that line, and then kind of like blend it afterwards. My forehead, I go across in circles like that and really blend it in to my hairline to create a shadow. And then same thing on the other side, just contouring, going up. You always want to contour a little bit above where you think you would like to, because if you contour too low, it won't look good. You want to raise your cheekbones, not make them look lower. And then I put a tiny bit on my chin. Next, I bronzed with the Too Faced Sweetheart Bronzer in the shade Sweet Tea. This is my second favorite bronzer, one behind the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. This is what I use on all of my brides because it is so glowy and pretty and really just bronzes your skin nicely. If you have acne and really textured skin, I do not suggest using something like this. I suggest using only matte products, just because shimmery products will really emphasize your texture. You know, if you still really like products like that, go ahead and use it, even if you have acne or textured skin. That's what's fun about makeup. You can use whatever you want. Whatever you like is up to you. So I'm just putting the bronzer in the same exact places where I contoured, just to warm up my face and give it a little bit of that bronzy glow. I put a little bit on my chin, a little bit on my nose, not too much. Next, I used my loose face setting powder. Put some into the cap, and I carved out my contour, I like to say. So what I did is I take that same sponge I used to blend up my concealer, and you see how it has that flat edge. On the other side, I packed on the face setting powder, and I am going to carve out the contour. So I like to swipe it on and then kind of stamp anywhere that looks like it was missing. And that is just going to create a really sharp contour. I don't do this every day. I only do it 4 days like this. I don't bake underneath my eyes. If you have really oily skin underneath your eyes, then I suggest baking underneath there. But if you're just normal to even dry, do not bake underneath your eyes because it'll make it look super dry. I put powder underneath my eyes, as you saw earlier, but I don't let it sit there. I kind of like swipe it off and just set down my foundation. I don't let it a ton sit on there like this, because otherwise on my skin it looks kind of crazy and really dry. So I only bake my contour. So I'm going to let that sit there while I put on my blush and my highlight, and then I wipe it off. So for blush, I went with my absolute favorite blush. I've talked about this, I'm sure, a few times on my channel, but it is the Milani Baked Blush in the shade Luminoso. The prettiest. It's a really pinky, corally blush that has like a gold shift to it. It looks absolutely stunning on every person I've ever used it on, and it is definitely my all-time favorite blush on myself. So I just couldn't not use this blush for my wedding day. This is another one of the really pretty brushes that my best friend got me. It is from IT Cosmetics, and it just says the blush brush. So just packed a little bit on there. What I like to do is press it into my skin. One way to tell where to put your blush is to kind of smile a little bit and then get it on the apple of your cheek, and always remember to push it back to your hairline. Some people don't like putting it on the apple of their cheek. I like to on myself, I like to on my clients, so that is definitely personal preference. And I always tell brides and bridesmaids that I apply quite a bit of blush to begin with, because I swear it's the first thing to go. As soon as you get outside and you know it's windy, or you know, just when you wear your makeup for a long time, things are going to fade away, and I swear blush is like the first thing to go. So I like to put a lot of blush on because 1, I like it, and because 2, it disappears throughout the day. Blush is definitely my all-time favorite makeup product. I just love putting color like back into your face after you put on foundation, and like seeing your face come back to life. I think that's enough. Definitely enough. Next, to highlight my face, I used the Becca Cosmetics Champagne Pop Highlight. I've had this highlight for years now, and I still have a decent amount left. This is the collaboration that Jaclyn Hill did with Becca literally years ago, and I think it's just a beautiful natural highlight. I mean, it's not natural, but it's not something that is like boom in your face. I think it's just a really pretty sheen to the skin. And I actually wanted to use the Jouer Cosmetics highlight in the shade Citrine. I ended up mixing them a little bit. So I first went in with the Becca one. I always dust off a little bit of the powder on my highlight brush, and then I lightly went over my cheekbone. I always take a tiny bit of highlight across my forehead. I never really see anyone else do that, but I like that on my skin. I don't put a lot, just basically what's left over on the brush I dust on my forehead. And then I love to apply it to the tip of my nose and the bridge of my nose, not too much. I suggest going in lightly on your nose and just building it up to the amount of sheen you like. And then one place I love to put a lot of highlight is on my Cupid's bow, because I swear, I put a lot right there to begin with because I swear that that is another thing that goes right away. Just like over the next couple hours that probably like won't even be there, so I put quite a bit on there to begin with. So I'm going to go in with a tiny bit of the Jouer one. Oh my god, it's in pieces. It's such a mess. Why am I so cheap? Like, why won't I just buy another one? And then what's left over, I always dust on my chin. Alright, now I'm going to dust off that powder I had underneath my contour. And I always kind of blend my contour in with it because I don't want like a crazy sharp line. I mean, I do and I don't. I just want it to create the illusion of a contour, but I don't want that really sharp line, so I blend it in with my contour a little bit. That is my face makeup. I absolutely love how it turned out the day of, and this is something I pretty much do all the time, so I knew I would like it, and I highly suggest doing that. If there's something you don't ever wear, and this is if you're doing your own makeup or if someone's doing it, I highly suggest doing things that you're comfortable with, because at the end of the day, yes, you want to be glam for your wedding. I mean, most brides do, but you want to feel like yourself, so I don't suggest going too crazy out of your comfort zone unless you're someone who can handle that, because you don't want to look back and be like, I didn't even look like myself. Like, you want to look like yourself but more enhanced and just feel really confident in your skin, in my opinion. So I knew if I did something that I'm used to doing and use the products that I absolutely love, that I would love it the day of and be happy with it. So that's what I did. Next, I did my eyes. And for my eyes, I forgot my eyelid primer the day of. But honestly, I've been using concealer for months now to prime my eyelid, and it works just as good, if not better. So I'm just going to go in with a tiny bit of the same Tarte concealer on this flat shader brush and prime my eyelids. I am obsessed with the fake lashes I got put on for my wedding. So obsessed that I got them filled just a couple days ago, and I plan to do it just for probably a few months. It's kind of expensive, but it's really nice to just have them done all the time, and it makes you feel so much more put together. But one thing I don't like about them is that I feel really weird when I do my eyeshadow. Like, I don't want to ruin the lashes, so I have to be super careful, and I feel like I can't get as close to my lash line as I did without the lashes, if that makes sense. But anyways, I'm going to prime my eyelids. Eyeshadow was one thing I was super indecisive about for my wedding day. I could not figure out what kind of look I wanted to do, and the day before my wedding, because like I was saying, I didn't have a whole lot of time throughout the year, or I probably did, but I just honestly haven't been that inspired with makeup this past year. I'm just now starting to get back into it and play with it again. So I didn't practice a lot of eyeshadow looks. So literally the day before the wedding, for the rehearsal, I practiced a look that I've done on a ton of brides at this point, and I ended up going with like what I think is a classic bridal look, where it's just like the neutral brown with the shimmery gold on the lid. And I was like, I kind of want to do something different, but when I tried it the night before, I loved it, and I knew that it was something that would look good in photos, and it was just neutral and all around looked amazing, in my opinion. To accomplish that look, I used the Tartlette in Bloom palette, and I shocked myself by using only one palette. Like, I couldn't believe that I really was only going to use one palette, but I just really didn't need any more, because this shade, Funny Girl, right here, you can see I've used quite a bit of it, is the prettiest gold shade I have found yet on the lid. I love how shiny it is. It's not like too yellowy gold, it's like a neutral gold, and I think it is gorgeous. I use it on so many people, so why wouldn't I use it on myself, you know? So the first thing I'm going to do is go in with this white shade just to set down my lid, just so that everything else I put on my lid blends nicely over the top of it. Next, I'm going in with a Morphe M441 brush. It's just a basic blending brush that is dirty. Sorry, I didn't clean my brushes, but it's just a really nice brush for blending all over your lid, especially for the transition shade. For the transition shade, I'm going in with Smarty Pants. As you can see, it's very used in this palette. I've hit pan on it. Just a really neutral brown that I am going to blend all over my lid. See, this is so hard with these lashes. Like, I just don't want to ruin them. I'm trying not to move the lashes around too much, because I don't want them to fall out. I always start in my outer corner in little circular motions and then bring it up through my crease. And I always start with just a little bit of eyeshadow and build it up slowly. It's a lot easier to add eyeshadow than it is to take away. It's pretty much impossible to take away eyeshadow when you put too much. I mean, you can always like keep blending, but just go in little by little. So next I'm going to go in with Jet Setter and Smarty Pants. They're just two neutral brown shades. I'm just going to blend them together. I'm dusting off pretty much all of it every time I use it. So a lot of times what I like to do is take a clean blending brush and a nice and fluffy one and just blend that out without any product in it. And honestly, I did not go too heavy with my eye makeup that day. I did a pretty light wash of brown with gold on the lid, and that was pretty much it. I truly think this is a step you cannot miss. I think it makes a huge difference to really just blend, especially with a clean brush, so that you're not adding product as you do it. That is the look so far. Really light, really neutral. And for this step, I cannot find my favorite brush right now. But what I used the day of, I'm pretty sure was this brush from the Morphe Jaclyn Hill collection. It's the JH32. It's just a little bit smaller of a blending brush to get into my outer corner. So what I'm going to do is take a tiny bit of Activist and Smoke Show. That's those darker brown shades over here in the corner. I'm going to put those in the corner of my eye and slowly blend it up to my crease. Nothing crazy. I did not go too dark with this step. So I'm literally going to dust off so much of this because I do not want a lot of it. I like to just tap this in the outer corner. Kind of just stamping it on with this brush. And then I like to go in with the blending brush I used and start blending that. So now I'm just going to keep blending it until I like how it looks. That is the finished look as for the matte portion of the eyeshadow. For the lid shade, like I said, I'm going in with the shade Funny Girl. It's that really shimmery gold shade. And my favorite brush for packing on shimmer is the eye shading brush from Sigma. It's the E55. So I put a ton of it on my brush, and I'm going to spray it with MAC Fix Plus. You can use any sort of spray. A lot of times I'll use just like my rose water or my Morphe setting spray, but I think this one makes it the most vibrant in my opinion. So I'm going to pack it on the inner corner of my eye and then into about the center of my eyelid. After I do that, I go in with that same blending brush and just blend the edges of that shimmer, just so there's no harsh lines. And then I go back in with a little bit more shimmer, just to get it to the amount of shimmer I like. Okay, that eye turned out a lot more like what I was going for. This one I need to fix, so let me just do that for a minute here. And lastly, I just went in with those same two brown neutral colors and swept them underneath my lower lash line. Two brushes I really like for that are the Morphe Jaclyn Hill brush, the JH43. It's a nice flat eyeliner brush, and then this one is from you can get this brush in any of the Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadow palettes. It's like the double-ended brush. I always use this side to smoke out underneath my lash line. So first I'm going to use the fluffier Anastasia brush and go in with Jet Setter and Smarty Pants, those two neutral brown shades, and I'm going to sweep that underneath my eyes. And I do it across my whole lower lash line. And then with that really sharp eyeliner brush, I'm going to go in with those darker brown shades, really lightly, tap off pretty much all of it, and then I'm going to stamp that in my outer corner on my lower lash line really close to my waterline. I'm going to go back in with this Anastasia brush and just lightly buff that out, but not too much, because I want it to be more of a defined line underneath there. Just want to smoke it out a tiny bit. There. And that is the eyeshadow look. Next, I'm just going to put some gel through my eyebrows. This is the Essence Make Me Brow Gel. It is in the shade Taupe. Super cheap gel, and it is one of my favorites. Lastly, for lips, the only thing I did was go in with this natural lip liner from NYX. It's my favorite lip liner. And then I went in with my favorite lip balm from Kors. It is the Jasmine Lip Balm. And that honestly is all I did with my lips until after the ceremony. Justin hates when I have lipstick on when I kiss him. I mean, and I also didn't want to leave like lipstick on his face after our kiss at the altar, so I was nice enough to not put any lipstick on technically until after the ceremony, which I just used a really natural shade. And what I ended up using was the NARS Velvet Lip Glide in the shade Unlaced. It's just a light neutral pink. I'll throw that on right now. You're probably wondering, well, why didn't you just wear like a matte lipstick so that when you kissed him it was transfer proof? I hate the feeling of matte lipsticks. I just can't do it anymore. I'll do it for like a photo, as bad as that sounds, but like I'll do it, I'll wear it for like at least an hour. That's it. And I just can't handle it anymore. It just feels so dry. No matter what formula it is, I just can't do it anymore. So I love to wear just lip liner, some lip balm, and sometimes I'll throw on stuff like this. Or I mean, I'll even throw on like my favorite lipsticks from MAC, and I always have to have lip balm on though underneath so that it's nice and creamy. It's definitely not transfer proof, but it's comfortable, and that's all I care about. Last thing I did was put on my setting spray. I always go in first with the Mario Badescu Rose Water. And once that is dry, I went in with the MAC Fix Plus setting spray. MAC Fix Plus is my all-time favorite setting spray. This is where I normally would put on mascara or falsies if I wanted to wear them, which I rarely ever do. But like I said, I had the eyelash extensions, so I didn't have to, and I was super happy with them. If you watched my wedding day vlog that I just posted, I recommended that if you were thinking about getting like eyelash extensions or like a pedicure, your nails done, stuff like that, and you like don't know if you want to do that because you either want to save money or you think you don't have time, or I don't know, if you're just thinking you're not going to do that, I would suggest getting things like that done, especially like the day or a couple days before the wedding, because it really took my mind off of the stress of wedding planning, and it was a lot of fun, and it was fun to pamper yourself after, I'm sure, all the hard work you've put into planning your wedding, and it was nice and I really enjoyed it. So if you're thinking about doing those things, I highly recommend it. Alright guys, that is the finished look of my wedding makeup routine. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you hopefully got some recommendations of some makeup products I think that you should try out. Like I said, all of the products I use were pretty much my holy grails. Like products that I absolutely cannot live without. I knew I had to wear them on my wedding day because they are what works the best in my opinion and what looks best on my skin. Pretty much the vibe I was going for. If you saw any of my wedding photos, you saw that I wore my hair down because I wanted to feel and look like myself. And I'm so happy I did that. When I look back at pictures now, I am just so happy with what I see, and I'm just happy I stuck with what I felt was right in my heart. So I will leave all the products I used down below so that you guys can shop them and try them out for yourself. If you guys have any other questions about something I did with my makeup that I maybe didn't mention, definitely leave that in the comments down below. Leave me any video ideas down below. Leave me anything. I'd love to answer your comments. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.